Hey, it's Noah Nerd, and I wanted to talk about a new programming project I'm working on at the minute, which is basically an iteration actually of the codegen project which I did a while ago. So I've been, to be honest, I've been struggling with working on my own stuff recently. Well, not struggling to work on it, I've been working on it before I've got a job, but but I had a little bit of a light bulb light bulb this weekend when I started hacking away on codegen again and making like a 2.0 version of it. Because the original concept is basically you just collect these cubes that get randomly generated. So it's generative game, but I wanted to expand on that concept now, and the concept's now really cool. So I'm going to show a time lapse in a few minutes, but I'll just give a broad overview of the actual idea. So basically the idea of the project is you're still a spaceship, still zero grav, but I want to make it into more of a space simulator, but not just that resource collection game. So basically you fly around, you can find these portals which then take you into another part of the universe. So basically it's a generative, it's like star clusters, and you can. The one thing I need to work out now, though, is the fact that basically there's points where you can probably, if you went for long enough, you could go on for infinity. Now, there is still an edge to whichever star cluster you're in, so that's something I'll have to figure out, right? But apart from that, it's looking pretty cool. I'll show the time lapse now and talk about. I mean, it's been a whole process this weekend of doing it, so it's stressful at times, but also it's actually really getting into the zone again, which is nice. Like I've been out of the zone with coding for probably a few months, if I'm honest. Like just getting my passion back for working on some programming projects. So this is a cool side project to work on in the meantime. I'm still doing work stuff, which is good, but I really did just need to work on one of my little passion projects. Anyway, like and subscribe if you like what you hear so far. This channel covers basically just programming projects, AR, VR, JavaScript projects in general, essentially. Okay, that'll do. I'll just roll with it and I'll narrate. So I'll see you on the other side of this. So I was just booted up at this point, having a look at the old code. Obviously I needed to start a new version, so going through the long and laborious and rather boring process, to be honest, of just checking things out. I hit upon this idea of, I was just basically at this point I was just messing around, like trying to think of how can I make this more like a spacey, interesting scene. The skybox obviously was not big enough to cover the entire amount of space I wanted to produce, so I started basically at this point just refactoring, doing crazy things like adding really insanely fast radius, a large radius for the skybox. Potentially I could do that again with the scaling, but again there's still going to be a point where you fall off, so that's what we have to really think about, really, I suppose. I guess anyway, I'm just looking through A-frame documentation, refreshing my mind on A-frame. It's been a while since I used it properly, so yeah, just refreshing my mind, looking at the documentation. Playing around with mass, speed, dampening for I wanted to like really get I wanted to make it look naturalistic, but also fantastical in some way. I was looking at some different textures for like graphics and that, basically. So just looking at loads of textures I can get for free online, which is just free basically. So yeah, just experimenting with that a bit. Skybox shit. Basically, just experimented with that again. This is the most experimental, basically. Messing with music, get some music on. I was working in the kitchen now, went downstairs to work, so changed where I was working. This is where I started hit on the idea of portals that you can transport into, or something like resource collection. So I was basically hacking on that idea of when you get close to a planet, you can. I was a bit confused at this point when I was going to have portals and planets. I was stuck between those two concepts and decided why not do both. So I started playing around with the spread, obviously, as well. So I wanted it to the scope of it to be a bit bigger, but also at the same time I don't want to make it too big at this point because I don't want to do everything. I just want to get a nice project that just works and does what it should. So some refactoring as well, and this is where it started to look pretty cool. Like you can probably just tell from that clip there, it was sort of looking more naturalistic, like a big cluster. Obviously the shapes are not stars at the minute. I hadn't really hit on that idea yet. I wasn't sure if it's going to be debris or if it's going to be something like different, I guess. But you can see that it looks pretty cool, like with the physics and everything. I'm just from playing around with that a bit. Yeah, again, just playing around. I'll do this. I'm still doing this a bit actually. So I've got these functions that basically take generate random numbers. I'm just playing around with that. One thing I'm a bit worried about with this project is the fact that there's just a lot of different scaling going on at different points. So it's quite hard to tune actually. Basically, you have to tune it so that it's it's the right amount of distribution and stuff. Obviously I'm relying on, there is like a seed value essentially, so it's not too hard. It doesn't really affect too much because I've got that like sort of God variable, if you will. Yeah, anyway, so carry on. That was starting to look more cool. As you can see, it feels like a spacey, like cool little space ring. I started to get really excited about the project then and really see its potential. At this point I'm just basically I was experimenting with adding glow. I still need to test that out, but basically I was and also could touch on the idea of spacemana, so just prototyped some code for that. Spacemana being obviously the resource you collect from different planets when you get within a certain distance. So at this point I'm just basically trying to create that aura as well around each planet, which is still a work in progress. I need to fix some of that code up. But once this works, it should look pretty cool because it'll have like an aura around the planet, and then when you're within that aura, you can actually collect the spacemana, is what it's called basically, which is a silly name maybe, but it sort of works. And this is a mixing magic and space, I guess. It's not really. It's more like a space game basically. But anyway, yeah. So still trying to work this out. Actually, just like the best way to have the background in there for the space, so it gets like spread across wherever you go in the plane of the scene basically. So it's infinite basically. I need an infinite skybox because at the minute it's definitely not infinite. Sorry, my screen just went off then. It really put me off. Okay, so I'm just sort of like thinking, I guess that's my thinking face, I think. Just doing obviously like pulling, pushing, commits, etc., rewriting the README a bit. It's always a good thing to do. Just basically, updated the entire idea of the project. This is version 2.0. So yeah, I'm just going off. I'm going to probably change the name from Planet Miners. I think it just sounds a bit cheesy. I'm going to try and make it something a bit better, but for now, that's what does the trick. That is sort of like probably going to be the idea. One of the main ideas of this whole thing is like you're basically astronauts who are mining for spacemana. So basically that's going to be the central concept. You go around in these generated universes, you go through the portals, a lot of it's generated as well, so that should ensure some replayability. I'll probably add in a scoring system as well. If I eventually get around to creating a backend for this, I could make it so that it can be competitive too, which would be quite a cool concept actually. It actually becomes more of a web game then. Only problem being, I mean, for doing it so that it's so that there's an individual like user profile, if you will, and then then you can compare, that'll be fine. But for actually creating real-time like MMO aspects, that's going to be really difficult to do. So at this point, I'm not even going to start worry about that. But it might be something that I could do in the future. But again, I don't want feature creep, and I want to keep it in scope. This is only a weekend project, so anyway, what am I doing now? So basically, yeah, just a lot of the same thing I was doing before. Basically, just looking around. A-frame documentation. I think I was trying to look up something really simple. I was getting a bit knackered probably at that point. That looks pretty cool, as you can see. It's just sort of the scene of it looks more naturalistic. Again, playing around with the physics, tidying up, creating a planet. Yeah, random integer. That's just all a function that just basically gets called from anywhere min and max values. Number of planets is bunged in there. I was modifying that. At the minute, I'm still doing a lot of that. Really, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is funny. I mean, basically look like a big clock, basically, when I did that, which is funny, made me laugh. And then basically just spreading. That looks, see, because the spread of it's a lot more now, so it's more like an actual cluster. Although I'm still playing around a lot with the actual speed of the spaceship, because depending on how far spread it is, that becomes a factor actually a lot more, and it's just it's a good thing to. So yeah, just renaming variables like debris, planets. Before it's just the stuff from the old code base for codegen, which is no good, is not really what I want as well. So yeah, basically doing that, creating all that. I guess, well, not boilerplate per se, it's just more like renaming variables so they're more descriptive. Here I'm just having a rest. I just went off for a while. I had to go downstairs, get a brew or something. Coming back again, yeah, I was drinking my tea, and then I was basically just, again, that's when I hit upon this idea of pause. So I got that. You can see there's like a video stream, and that's how I want it to look on the poll, which would be freaking awesome, to be honest. If you can just, anytime you want, it's like a wormhole actually, really, more than a portal, but I just call it a portal. And you can go to one of these wormholes, and it'll basically it'll generate the entire script for generating the star system all over again. Yep, so that'll do that. I've said some light was added in here. I think I just had it commented out before. I've actually taken it off now, but it's something I wanted to reintroduce with the new version is light, so that it gives it a bit more. Obviously, at this point, it's just, I just noticed it and I was like, oh, that's cool. Again, just distribution, messing around with that. I think that most of the rest of this coming up is distribution messing around, which is like the last few things I did only a few hours ago. Yeah, then it's basically a bit more like you can't really tell from the sped up clips, but basically it's a bit more like an exploratory space scene now.